Hello and welcome back to the first ever proper YouTube video from today years old. The topic of this video is why we need to normalise talking about burnout. So grab yourselves a coffee and let's have a chat. So there was a Deloitte study that showed that 77% of respondents to their survey reported feeling symptoms of burnout. And I've put a link to my blog down below. You can read more about the stats and a link to the survey. But that's massive. We're talking about not some niche minority. The majority of people are feeling burnt out to some extent. I mean that's crazy. That means that probably you watching this right now are also feeling symptoms of burnout. And yet it's the biggest elephant in the room. Not only is this elephant in the room, it is trampling all over it. Because this video isn't about going into why people burn out. That's a separate topic and we will cover it. But whatever the cause of a burnout, what we can all agree is that burnout sucks. At its worst, burnout is debilitating. I mean, there were times when I couldn't get out of bed for days. And yet, we don't really talk about it. There's a lot of stigma around mental health in general, but specifically burnout in the workplace. And I'm a consultant, so I put my consulting spin on it. And I think consulting and banking and law and all these types of industries are the worst for it, because there's also an inherent long hours culture that's just kind of trickled down over the years. And there's this implication, even if it's not directly said, that burnout means that you're just someone who can't hack it. And I really want to try and bust that myth in this video, because that's just complete rubbish, in my view. I don't agree with it at all. And so, yeah, I think if we think about some of the myths around burnout, and I think this is the main reason that we need to talk about it, because there is so much misunderstanding around burnout and what the experience is like and how you can recognise it and actually what does it mean. And therefore, because we have all this stigma, it becomes very difficult to then know how to respond to somebody who's having a burnout, be they your colleague, your friend, someone in your team. And I think if you are a manager or leading a team in some kind of way and you're watching this video, it's especially important that you understand and educate yourself about burnout. Because if I go back to that Deloitte study, 77% of people, so that means probably 3/4 of your team are feeling burnt out. And when someone is burnt out, you're not getting the most out of them. You're not getting their best productivity. That means you're underutilising 3/4 of your team just because they're feeling burnt out. And we can start to address this by talking about it. If you're feeling a bit burnt out right now, I don't know who needs to hear this, but know these 4 things. Burnout doesn't mean that you can't hack it. It doesn't mean you need to quit. It doesn't mean you add less value than your colleagues. And above all, it doesn't mean you're weak. So in case you haven't cottoned on yet, the main reasons that we need to normalise talking about burnout is because it is so common, it has such an impact, and there are so many myths around it. So what can you do to help start the journey of normalising it? And my view is everyone has a part to play in this. It doesn't matter what level you are in your organisation, what company you work for. It doesn't matter if you're not a consultant. This is applicable still to you. There are things you can do right now to take everyone on that journey. You can go and educate yourself about burnout and then go and share those articles. And that's kind of what I'm doing here with my blog, this channel, and also I share links to my team, to my friends, and they share them back. And it just becomes really normal to make burnout part of a normal discussion. And I would encourage companies to get their leaders to do this too. And again, a leader doesn't mean you have to be the CEO or an MD, anyone that people look up to in a leadership position at any level, in any context. When we do kind of meet the leaders and we do panel discussions, we often focus on the journey being the good bits and the promotions, and we sometimes don't talk about the challenges that come along the way in a meaningful way. So sometimes we hear, and we had to work really hard or really long to get long hours to get this project done that got me promoted. But actually, I think that kind of can feed into the whole glorifying long hours culture if it's not balanced against, and then there's burnout, and this is how I experienced it and how I recovered from it, and maybe this will help you guys too. So I think it's really important that we normalise a discussion about burnout at all levels. And yeah, it comes down to, for me, not glorifying it. It's not a badge of honour. It shouldn't become like another long hours badge of honour, but not hiding it either. We don't need to shy away from this conversation. So in order to normalise something, we have to start something. And for me, normalising the discussion about burnout starts with checking in. Check in on your friends, on your colleagues, on your family. Check in on the people around you, on your neighbours. And I know this is something that we was doing a lot of at the beginning of the pandemic, but I feel like maybe we're not doing it so much now, and we need to. And when you're checking in on someone, mean it, really mean it. Not just a token, how are you, and not really listening to the answer. If you're going to ask the question, mean it. And if they display any of the symptoms of burnout, or they actively say, yeah, I'm feeling a bit burnt out, no, go and educate yourself so that you can help support and respond to that person in the way that's right for them. And that gives us some food for thought for the very first proper YouTube video for today years old. I'll include a link to my website down below. There's loads of blogs on there. We'll turn some of these into videos, but it'll give you a sneak peek of some of the type of stuff that's to come. It's also got loads of great resources, so if you want to go and educate yourself and think about how to start and continue the burnout discussion, there's tips, advice on there. I'll also include in the description below some of the interesting articles that I've read along the way. I hope you'll find them interesting too. For me, we have to normalise the discussion of burnout because so many people are burnt out. Burnout is normal. It's normal to talk about football. It's normal to talk about TV. And so it should be normal to talk about burnout. We can break all these myths, all these stigmas. They can go away. They go away if we talk about it. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, proper YouTuber things down below. Drop me a comment, reach out. Happy to have a discussion about it, and hope it's been useful.